Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Max Durbus Realtors has been providing commercial and industrial real estate services to its clients for nearly 100 years. Since 1934, Max Durbus has been locally owned and operated throughout the greater New Orleans area, including the North Shore, Hammond, and even the Mississippi Gulf Coast and beyond. We focus on your commercial real estate needs so you don't have to. More information is available at 504-733-4555.
Hey, don't forget my pimento cheese.
Of course. It's okay, I'll take it from here. Hey, you forgot your receipt!
For the love of palmetto cheese.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime Sports. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and I want to thank everybody for their prayers last week. I apologize for missing the show. We had a big Pelican show set up. I had a medical emergency, was in the hospital for several days, but I'm fine now, and I'm ready to talk some sports again, so let's get after it. The Zurich Classic is this weekend. It's one of my favorite events that we have in New Orleans, along with Mardi Gras, along with Jazz Fest, French Quarter Fest. I love this event. You don't have to like sports. Just get out there and enjoy it, and they got some great pairings. We're going to have Kelly Gibson, the former PGA golfer from New Orleans, to talk about some of the matchups, the LIV versus the PGA. It's going to be fun, and we're going to have Matt Fitzpatrick is going to be one of the pairings, and his little brother Alex. Matt just won the Heritage, and he's also won the U.S. Open. How about the last year's champion, Xander Schauffele, and also Patrick Cantley? These guys are dominant right now. They're the leaderboard, but how about this fun pair, John Daly and David Duval, two guys that couldn't be more opposite, both number one in their time, both in their 50s, and I guarantee a lot of people will be rooting for these two. They both won mini majors, and that's going to be fun. They're past their prime, of course, but get out there to the Zurich. Let's move on to LSU baseball. We have Jay Johnson coming on this show just in a few minutes. He's going to be coming on. They're number one. They've been number one all year. They're 29-6 and rolling. They've won every series that they've been in, except for South Carolina, where they split because they had a rain out. But Jay Johnson is going to give you a midseason report right here coming up, and the NFL draft. That's right, I'm bringing my man out of the booth, back in from the control room up here. Logan Graffia is going to tell us all about the NFL draft as it pertains to the Saints. And by the way, next week, Tyjae Spears, the great Tulane running back, will be right here in studio 2 days before the draft, and he'll be drafted probably in the second or third round. But Pell season, it's over. It ended last week on Wednesday in the play-in game. They were leading most of the way. Thunder came back strong. Second half season over. Speaking of that, the good things happening. You just got to keep this team healthy. Playoffs, the NBA, it's going on right now. The one series I can't wait, Clippers-Suns. Clippers won the first game. The Suns, this is going to be you got a bunch of superstars and future Hall of Famers in this one. The Bucks-Heat. The Bucks, 8th seed, beat the number 1 seed. They're leading in 1-0. Kings-Warriors, how about this? The Warriors are already down 2-0 to the Kings, who hadn't been in the playoffs in 17 years. And the Lakers-Grizz. We're going to root against the Lakers, correct? Who knows? But volleyball, I got to talk about Kristen Nuss and Taryn Cloth. These are LSU graduates doing big things. They finished second this week in the AVP Tour at Coconut Beach and Kenner, but they've won tournaments all around the country. Watch these two girls. They deserve it. They'll be future guests on Primetime Sports. Stay tuned. Jay Johnson's next, right here.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
Good evening and welcome back to Primetime Sports. Hey, like I said in the open, we're going to cover a lot of sports today. I've even got 4 guests, so we're going to get right to them. We're going to do a little draft football. We're going to talk later in the show on that. We're going to talk, obviously, a little basketball to wrap up the season. And right now, though, we're going to talk some football. That's right. Football is coming later. Right now, we're going to talk LSU baseball. LSU baseball, we had Jay Johnson, the head coach, the second-year coach, come in 2 months ago, and he told us a couple things. Listen, when you're number 1 in the country preseason, there's a target on your back, but he accepted that target, and they've lived up to it. They've held the number 1 ranking all year, 29-6, rolling along, won every series they've been in, and here he is. They've got a game tonight against UL Lafayette, and we just want to get a midseason report and see what's going on with the Tigers, and the excitement is back in Tiger Stadium, at Alex Box Stadium, because listen, I remember going to school there in the 80s. And when it got ramped up. In the 90s, we all know what happened with the 5 national championships, 2009 national championship, a lot of close calls after that. Well, now the excitement is really rolling in Alex Box again, and Jay Johnson's a big part of that, and he's up in Baton Rouge right now. Jay, welcome to the show, my friend.
Good to be on. Thanks for having me.
So good to see you, man. I'm going to say this real quick. You sat here in this chair just 2 months ago, right before the season started, about a week and a half before, and I remember asking you one question. I said, listen, y'all are number 1. You come off a season where you had a nice season. You got to the regionals and lost to Southern Miss, but they put that target on your back and you accepted it. So how's it been for the first 2 months?
Yeah, I think when you're playing in the SEC, I mean, I don't think we've played an opponent ranked lower than 12 through the first 14 conference games. So they remind you pretty quick that you got to play well to win, and our team has played well enough to win in most cases and has done a great job.
I mean, you say that. I looked at the rankings yesterday, and I'm looking at the SEC's got 6 of the top 7 teams in the country, and I know they're going to start beating up on each other a little more, but when I looked at the schedule, I was like, my goodness, they have played some of the Titans in the league already. And when you cut a guy like, for instance, I'm going to give you one example, is a guy like Tommy White coming in from the ACC, a very good conference, not the SEC. I produced the ACC for about 5 years in the 90s. They're good, they're proud, but when he comes over, and I just want just an opinion from what a guy like him is saying about the competition compared to what he was at before, which is great, but every day he's playing like a team that could win a national championship now.
Yeah, I think Tommy's a humble guy and would tell you that, that it's probably better. But the good part about him is he's super competitive. And so it's elevated his game as well. And he's been tremendous. He's leading the country in RBIs right now, which is exactly what we want him to do. He's played good at third base, added a competitive dynamic and element to our team, which only makes us better. And he's off and rolling right now.
I'm going to say this one more thing on him because he's got 62 RBIs. I mean, let's do this. 35 games. If that was in the major leagues, if you did full season, it'd be like 300 RBIs in a season. I know that's crazy. LSU's averaging 10.5 runs a game, but this guy's driving them in 2 per game himself. When you got the 1-2 punch of him and Dylan Cruz, it make it a little easier for you?
Yeah, I'd like to bottle that up for my whole career. I can promise you that. Just the other day against Kentucky, like there was runners on first and second, 2 outs, tie game in the bottom of the 8th inning, and they walked Dylan to pitch to Tommy, and the guy hit him with a pitch. And it's just like there's no right answer of who you should pitch to when you have both those guys swinging the bat the way that they do. I mean,
speaking of Cruz, I was reading some quotes yesterday, just the teammates seem to revere him as well. His work ethic is off the charts. Obviously, I mean, I'm going to Tommy White's Twitter page, and he's talking about Dylan Cruz and just what an incredible player he is, and an even better person. I mean, the pitchers are even talking about how much they love him. What does this guy mean to this team? Because we all know that he's the number 1 leading choice right now to be the first pick of the entire Major League Baseball draft coming up in the June. What are your thoughts about how the team responds to him and how he's become a leader, and not just a silent leader, but a vocal one as well?
Yeah, he's special. I think this is probably the easiest number 1 draft pick of the MLB draft in a long time. And it's twofold. It's Dylan is a generational type talent. I mean, when you just talk about the 5 tools, it's all 5 tools. It's performance. They show up in the game. I mean, he's hitting right around 500. He's on base over 65% of the time. A season that you don't ever see, but it's the type of person he is. You know, when he hits a home run, he jogs around the bases fast, like he's done it a billion times, which he has. He makes tough plays in center field look easy, all of those types of things. But he has really found his voice, and because of the way he works, because of the way he just has this great humility about him. he's a real easy guy to get behind, and his teammates are behind him. It's a very connected team, and Dylan's leadership and character have a lot to do with that.
I mean, SEC is a great conference, but when you start talking about some of these guys you have that lead the country, there's 295 D1 baseball teams, if I'm not mistaken. 295. You've got the guy leading in RBIs, obviously Tommy White. You've got Dylan Cruz, 500. Let's think about this. 500. That means you're getting a hit every 2 times, and you're getting on base 2 out of every 3 times. That means your on-base percentage is 65%. And as a team, this on-base percentage is around 476, if I'm not mistaken, there as well. That's got to make you feel good in the lineup, because it's not just those two. You got Trey Morgan, you got the Dugai, you got all kind of guys in this lineup to deal with. There's no holes in this lineup. Every time I watch them, I'm like, well, this guy can certainly drive in 3 runs on this play right here. What's it like with the way this team hits the ball? Because I know you love that. You're last in the league in stolen bases, but you don't care about that. You know this guy, anybody in this team can hit that game-winning home run if you need it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like the stolen base thing, I get asked this a lot. I used to be a very, pressure baseball oriented coach, but I haven't had the Dylan Cruzes and Tommy Whites on my team every single year. And with that being said, I've had great players. But eventually in this lineup, which is more than those two, somebody's going to walk and somebody's going to hit an extra base hit. And so you don't want to run yourself out of the opportunity to create a big inning, because literally all 9 guys are in scoring position when they step to the plate. We're very good at sustaining quality at bats. And, I believe to this day, most college baseball games are lost. They are not won. And so we want to let the pitcher lose the game by throwing balls, and then making mistakes right over the middle of the plate, which our hitters are gonna hammer. And that's been a good formula for this team. It's not always the right formula for every team, but it's the right formula for this team. Oh,
I'm joking about the stolen bases. You've made it clear right here. When you got these kind of bats, don't waste them trying to run and getting hurt too. A lot of times guys get hurt running bases. One last thing though, I wanted to ask you. So you mentioned pitchers, and you got the pitchers. You want them to actually win the game, not lose the game. How about Paul Skeens? You talked about it before the season. I didn't realize when you were talking about him that he was this good. You said, hey, he's special. This guy could be a first-round pick, maybe even a high first-round pick. But we're talking a guy that leads the country, 295 teams in strikeouts. He's right up there with ERA. He's just almost unhittable. The other hitters on the team, I remember Tommy White had a quote saying, I can't hit the guy most of the time. It's got to be nice on a Friday night to be able to plug this guy in, because you got a lot of quality pitchers on this team, but he's definitely the ace.
Oh, there's no question about that. And, much like I spoke about Dylan, like in only having this guy for 1 year, it's hard to imagine any player making the impact on a program that he's making that's only going to be here 1 year, both in terms of what he gives us every single Friday. We know we're going to be in the game. At worst, we are going to be in a tight game, close game, with probably the pitching matchup advantage with Paul on the mound. Or we're going to win. You know what I mean? Like, that's the confidence that the team has in him. And then just from a character, leadership, I mean, I can't speak any higher of, we were talking about Dylan a minute ago and Paul. Like, I wish I could hold on to these guys forever. And, this just gives you a story about both of them, is like, they have conversations with me about not just developing our team this year, but helping me develop the program for after they're gone. Like,
wow.
That some of the traits that they're bringing to the table, they don't want to see those go away. And that's just not the way a normal 21-year-old thinks. And both of them have referenced that to me this year. And that just gives you a story about what type of people they are. I got a chill when I read the article. You speaking of Cruz again, real quick. It was a few weeks ago on ESPN, and it was one of the great baseball articles I've ever read about a team and the camaraderie. But they were talking about Dylan Cruz, and he was being mentioned as one of these, guys in the same breath as Joe Burrow, what he did at LSU, with Shaquille O'Neal at LSU, and more recently in baseball, Alex Bregman. And I was talking to my son, who follows LSU baseball very closely as well, and I said, that's what this guy is, and maybe even more. I mean, he's the undisputed #1 pick, just like Burrow was, just like Shaq was. But the fact is you're talking about a guy that not only wants to do it now, he wants to keep the legacy going, not for himself, but for the program, and that speaks volumes where you are already in your second season. Yeah, and I'm very transparent about this. I mean, this is LSU baseball, the great history with Skip Bertman and Paul Maneri and the fans and the SEC, and there's a lot of draw to it. But I'm dead serious when I say this. Part of the pull of me coming here and choosing to do this was knowing I was going to have a player like Dylan for 2 years. And that's how good that I thought he was. And then he has surpassed that like tenfold as player and person. And I couldn't say enough good things about him or Paul Skeens. And I hope fans are paying attention to these guys because they don't come around very often. And they're just in the same breath as those guys like Shaq and Joe Burrow and type of impact.
Last thing, because you mentioned the fans, I just want, there's people that aren't from here and they like baseball. They know we have great fans. Some may even say you might have the best fans. But when you're there now and you see the excitement on a team like this that's rolling and expectations and, you just met them. But the thing is, baseball is a weird sport. I mean, losses come in the weirdest ways. But the fan support in your mind, and I just want your opinion of a guy that's been around the country. How would you rate them as far as like their passion for baseball and LSU?
Yeah, I'd say, Dylan is far and away the best position player in the country. Paul is the best pitcher. Our fans are the best by that same amount. And kind of a cool story. We've had to move some things around because of rain, and we had a doubleheader against Arkansas. They beat us on Friday. In a close game, extra inning game. Yeah. We won the first game on Saturday. Then we had a night game to finish the series to either win or lose the series. And I mean, we played great. Couldn't play better. I mean, Tommy had 7 RBIs. Dylan's hitting balls over the fence. I mean, pitchers are coming in and getting outs. And it was one where we had kind of opened it up enough to where, like, I think White hit a home run. And I mean, I couldn't hear myself think for a minute. And I just took a second to look around going like, this is pretty special, and it doesn't exist anywhere else. So major shout out to them. A lot of them came out in the bad weather on Saturday to help us win that series against Kentucky, and very thankful for our fans.
I got chills just hearing that. I've been in those stands many, many times. I really do. My entire body's got chills. So congratulations, Coach. Good luck the rest of the season. Obviously, you got the second half of the SEC season and obviously the SEC tournament and beyond. So good luck, and I appreciate you coming on short notice, sir.
You got it. Thanks, Scott.
There he is, Jay Johnson in his second season. What a great man. He's doing great things for LSU program. Paul Maneri did great things. He won a national championship, but now they're taking it to another level, and I can't wait to see what this era does. I follow all the sports here. I follow all the sports, all the team sports, all the colleges, all the pro sports. I love them all, and I love to see them do well, and they're certainly doing that up in Baton Rouge. Hey, speaking of sports, one of the best events we have in this town is the Zurich Classic. That's right. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk to Kelly Gibson, a guy that's played in that tournament in the past. He's played in a lot of tournaments. He's played in majors. He's a New Orleans guy, a De La Salle grad from a few years ago in my era. But this guy knows golf, and he designs golf courses, and he's coming up next right here on Primetime Sports.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll at Mid-City Lanes, the home of rock and roll.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's only for a limited time.
The recent devastation from hurricanes have caused insurance companies to significantly raise their rates. However, most of them are offering large discounts if you install a fortified roof system, which uses larger nails and has a much stronger, resilient base underneath the shingles. The fortified roof professionals at Skyline Contractors can install these new roofing systems for you. More information is available at 504-355-6845 or at skylinecontractors.us.
Welcome back to Primetime Sports. I want to thank Jay Johnson. What a job in his second year, #1 in the country the entire season, and it looks like they're not stopping anytime soon. But we're going to shift gears to one of my favorite events that New Orleans has. Not Mardi Gras, it's not Jazz Fest, it's not even French Quarter Fest, but it's the Zurich Classic, and it's right in the same time as all these other things, and this has become one of these can't-miss events. Even if you don't like golf at all, you cannot help but have a great time when you get out there to the TPC because it's such a fun time. And a guy that I've known for over 40 years, I hate to say it, I must have been 2 years old when I met him, but his name is Kelly Gibson. He was a superstar golfer in high school, superstar golfer over there at Lamar in college, and then he went on to the PGA Tour. And he's played in a lot of majors, and he's played right here in New Orleans a few times. So we want to get his take on what's going on. But one of the big things he's done for 33 years is the Kelly Gibson Foundation, working with young kids through golf and making them better people. And here he is. Good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you.
How you been, man?
I'm doing great, and I'm really happy to be back on your show. It's been fun always coming on the show, and this special week for me. So it's great to talk golf.
I mean, it seems like I talked to some of your mutual friends we have, and like, you know, you're in Ireland 2 months, and you're back here. How's that going? How's the club going out there, and are you still enjoying all that?
Yes. I'm actually going to be headed over there at the end of this week, Hogshead Golf Club in Waterville, Ireland. Yeah. It's a very special place, just kind of unbelievable beauty. The setting is incredible. The people are super nice. It's Robert Trent Jones Jr. golf design golf course, and I've been fortunate enough to be a part of it since day one. My official role now is Minister of Fun. So
that's the best card of all time.
It is.
I used to have a card when I was an agent with Pat Dye saying basketball agent. I mean, it was like, no, vice president of basketball. And then people were like, of the world? What are you talking about? So that one beats that Prime Minister of Fun. Speaking of Hogshead, I mean, listen, I'm on Twitter a lot. I've seen Paige Spearneck's thing. I mean, she gets on there a good bit, and she says she loves Hogshead.
Well, I don't think she's been over there.
But she said she loves it. She must have seen pictures.
Oh, yeah, no, we need to get her over there. It would blow up the internet for sure. No, it's fun. Some of your friends from Atlanta are members over there, and they get
talk
over
about
there.
it all the time, trust me.
They get over there. It's a special place. I mean, right on the Atlantic Ocean in Waterville, Ireland. Kind of an iconic looking place, a bucket list type golf course. It's just, I'm very fortunate to be a part of it.
Now, would you have fun if you're not a good golfer? Like for instance, I just said you have fun to go to the Zurich Classic as a fan, even if you don't like golf, because it's such a great event. If I went over there with Lester or you, or Ed Malone, for instance, would I have fun going over there just if I wasn't very good at golf?
Well, Ed Malone, interestingly, I saw him yesterday with little Daddy Capshaw out at the Zurich Classic.
All of them?
All of them were out there at the Zurich Classic, and they haven't been yet, so we need to get them over there. It would be quite fun. I don't know if their game travels very well, though.
That's funny. Let's move on to this tournament because you've done great things with kids. I mean, you're doing clinics. I know have you done yours yet this week, or is it going to be all week? How's that work?
No, actually today at 1 o'clock, we're going to be out there. This will be my 33rd year. I would have had 34 years in a row. COVID knocked us out 1 year. It's really a privilege and an honor for me to be able to give back in a small way through golf and through the Zurich Classic. I've been fortunate to be part of I think the 4Kids Foundation since 1996 or 97, and this is the one day of the year that I really look forward to. You know, we try to do as good a job as we can. We get a big crowd. Sometimes we run into spring break or testing this time of the year. Kids are doing tests. So, but hopefully we'll have a nice crowd out there today. I usually drag some of the pros in to hit some shots, and it's always been fun.
Well, since it's 7:15, you must have had a good time. I hope it was fun today. Hey, by the way, let's talk about I have to ask this, and I don't know if this is touchy with golfers, but the Live Golf versus PGA. It's almost like you have to choose. Obviously, the people like yourself in the PGA, you love the PGA. Yeah. But, you know, I'm looking at the other side. As an agent, I have to look at both sides when my players and people be like, you know, he's asking for too much money. It's like, well, he's asking for what he can get. And that's what life's about as far as capitalism goes. I mean, whether you like it or not, that's what people do. They try to get the most. So it's hard for me to look at these guys and say they're traders because they're just taking care of their family. But in a way, I love the history of golf and the sanctity of golf. So in a way, I do feel like they are a little bit. What's an actual PGA golfer that's retired? What is your take on this whole thing?
Well, I think it's really a shame how it's all been handled. Personally, for me, I just don't like seeing that the players going at each other the way they are.
It's not common.
It's well, that, and then they just made it seemed like it got dirty, and then I don't think the leaders really handled it very well. They could have got behind closed doors and maybe gotten a resolution on the table or found some common ground to find a better path than to drag the whole sport through the mud like they're doing.
Right.
I think it was disappointing for so many fans. And it's disappointing for the players, too. Look, the players, obviously they're playing for money. And if somebody's going to wave $200 million or $100 million in front of you, you have to think about that. I mean, I know some of these guys are one injury away from being where I'm sitting, right?
That's it,
and they have to think of it in those terms. Some of the young guys that are getting this opportunity to play, you can't deny what they're doing. I think there's been a lot of misinformation on both sides, and that's really a discredit to all the people who played before them, who built the PGA Tour. I don't like the way some of Greg Norman's actions have been, but I think they should have found common ground and made it. Golf's always been a great gentleman's sport,
right,
if you will,
absolutely.
and a ladies' sport, and I think they got into the mud a little bit too much.
Well, it's bound to happen once I heard the numbers being tossed. And I got to ask you a question because, obviously some of them played the Masters, and obviously they're banned from most tournaments. What was it like? I mean, just from your perspective, from some of the guys seeing some of them, they said it was like old times, that was in the media, and it was good to see your old friends. But some of these guys had words in the past. So, it had to be a little bit icy at times.
Well, I don't, people think that pros are like best friends. They're trying to beat each other. I mean, I didn't see that a lot. They might be close friends. They might have went to college. They might have been college roommates, and they might be certain bonds. But you can bet once they tee off on the first hole, they're only worried about one person winning, and that's themselves. And if they're saying anything else, if they're pulling for another guy, I mean, that's all for television, because behind the closed doors, you don't see a lot of hugging in the locker room when it comes to professional golf. You see some high fives, maybe Ryder Cup, you see them pulling for each other, but the reality is you're out there as a solo competitor, and you've got one job, and that's to succeed on the golf course, to play against the golf course and try to post the best score for the week. And so it's man on man, and that's how it is. And I think television tries to play into this friendship thing and all the drama because it adds to the story a little bit, but they're trying to win and they're trying to make money, and they're getting these opportunities now. I think it's interesting how the PGA Tour is all of a sudden coming up with all these new avenues for players to make money.
Right. Well,
money that's been sitting on the table.
They have to, right.
With television contracts. Yes. And I think it's really, really going to hurt tournaments. I think at the end of the day, the sponsors and the local, some of these tournaments that are not getting to the elevated on the PGA Tour are going to struggle.
Well, listen, it's already affecting this tournament, which is the match play. I mean, the tandem play has made this a special thing. But when you got guys that love to come here, like Dustin, obviously Cam Smith. Yeah. I mean, these are personalities too. These are people everybody loves, and they love the city. I don't want to get too more in that, but I have to ask you real quick before I get into this matchup we have here and some of the interesting pairings. The Netflix documentary. See, I have a little insight on this because, Smiley Kaufman's dad is a good friend of me and a few others, but John Brady, me mostly, because he was in Birmingham. That's where Smiley's from. So I got some insight on Justin Thomas and obviously Jordan Spieth and that whole little rat pack they got. Yeah. They really are good friends. I mean, they love to beat the hell out of each other, trust me, but they are good friends. So seeing it, after hearing all the stories for 3 or 4 years, or 5 years, whatever, and seeing it on TV, and they're just revving each other nonstop. Justin Thomas went in a slump, and Jordan Spieth was not letting him up. Yeah. And then with Jordan, when he hit his little slump, Justin's like, "You suck, I got you." Yeah. So that's fun to me.
It's fun, and that part of it, yes, that's a reality. I think the part that I was trying to emphasize is, like, back when I was playing, top 10 players hung out with top 10 players because they get paired together. Yeah. They eat at the same time. Yeah. They're eating at the restaurants at the same time. Their wives are walking along the rope. Their families are getting to know each other in the crowd. And so there's a little bit of camaraderie there. But the top 10 players out there are not hanging out.
Tiger and Phil are coming to mind when they were really good, and I can't imagine them hanging out much.
Everybody likes that. interaction. You know, Arnie had Jack Nicklaus. Tom Watson had Jack Nicklaus and Seve Ballesteros, and then Ballesteros had him versus the world.
Right.
And
he was
so,
one of my favorites,
and then you had Nick Faldo and Greg Norman and Curtis Strange, and so you've had this. Then you had Duvall taking a run at Tiger. You had Tiger taking a run at Duvall, and you know you had John Daly in the mix. You had all these great stories, but I was out there for 15 years, and you know I didn't see the guys in the top 30 hanging out with the guys, you know, 75 through 125 that often. Some of them did because they were childhood friends or college friends, or they went through the mini tours together.
Hey, speaking of Duvall, there he is right there. The great segue, by the way. I lived in Atlanta for 20 years. He was a great player at Georgia Tech. People forget, this is a pairing of guys 51 and 56 years old, but they were both at the top of their game. That's old Daly right there with the beard. That's what you're going to probably see something like that this week. And there's young Daly. But Daly came on the scene in 91. We all know he won the PGA tournament out of nowhere. They both won the British Open, or the Open Championship, whatever you want to call it. But Daly, people forget, was #1 in the world from 91 to 2002, maybe.
Yeah.
And we all know that Duvall was #1, and we all know Daly's story. So there's a lot of good pairings, but for me, I know they're not going to probably win. They're long shots because they're old. But this would be a fun duo to pick, because I would never put them together as people.
Oh, it makes me want to dust off the club,
right,
you know.
Right.
I was working with a good friend of mine last week, Uncle Wayne Pace, and he was saying, hey, you ought to take another run at the tournament. And I said, I'm a little bit too old. And then all of a sudden I see John Daly and David Duvall playing together. And then, you know, people are going, why don't you call David Toms and try one more time? Right, yeah. And I go, well, David's playing a lot better than.
No.
And,
you didn't read the paper? He's got razor burn. Toms can't come.
He's got razor burn.
Yeah, he hurts, he said. So he can't play.
He's hurt? That's why he's not playing this week? Yeah. Right. No, but I think they're going to do great. You know, it'll be interesting for me to see the perspective of how long John Daly hits it compared to the guys playing now.
Yeah.
And David Duvall was not short, by the way, either. Yeah. He was very long in his prime. So I kind of want to watch that this week to see, you know, how these guys, hopefully they get a little mojo going, and, you know, and they can get in there at the end of the week and kind of create an audience for television.
It would be fun, wouldn't it?
It would be great.
And by the way, Duvall has never been a very outgoing guy, you know, but his fall was precipitous, and we've seen this in other sports. But I don't want to get too much into that. But I'm just hoping he has fun and has out there, because he was always just a steely guy, never looked like he had fun. But I've seen him a little bit lately. He seems like he's loosened up a bit. But let's get to the real contenders, the ones that people expect to win, possibly. Obviously, the defending champions, you can't deny Cantlay and Schauffele.
Yeah, they're going to be tough to beat, and Cantlay's playing very well right now, and they kind of buzzed through the tournament last year. They won pretty easily. There wasn't a lot of pressure on them the last day, so it'd be interesting to see. You know, sometimes courses fit people's eyes a little bit better, and maybe these guys get some magic again this year. But you got Sam Burns is going to be tough.
LSU boy.
Yeah, if he gets the crowd behind him, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I anticipate having a really big crowd out there because the weather forecast is looking spectacular.
That's a good team right there, by the way, because Horschel loves this course.
Oh, he loves it.
He's won it himself. He's won in tandem.
Yeah.
And I love Horschel because he's a care, man. I mean, like, it is a gentleman's sport, but he's refreshing because he just says what he feels, and he doesn't. He used to watch it a little bit, but now he just says, screw it, I'm just going to be myself.
Yeah, he just reminds me of like a classic athlete. You know, he's the quarterback that wants to fight on every play to the end of the game. He reminds you of a pitcher that's just trying to strike out everyone. He just looks like a really strong athlete when he plays golf. I love his golf swing, and he loves this golf course. He loves New Orleans. He's got a lot of friends here, and so obviously he's had tremendous success, and that's going to bode well for their team.
Real quick, I'm going to go through just 3 or 4 more interesting pairings. You don't have to just give me a few words on each of them. Morikawa and Homa. I love Max Homa. I love his potential. What about this crew? Because Morikawa is a technician.
I actually got to play with Morikawa 2 years ago in the Pro-Am here, and I was so impressed. For a young guy to be that mature, and his game is just rock solid. He's going to be around for quite a while. I don't really know Max Homa, but he's really hot. He's one of the hottest players out there right now.
What other pairings do you like in this?
Well, I mean, I think Cantlay and Xander are going to be there. I think that's the premier pairing.
Well, how about this one? My favorite right now is Matt Fitzpatrick, because he's obviously the U.S. Open reigning champion. He obviously just won the Heritage this week. And I have a text that he sent his brother on how he got in the tournament. Hey, what are you doing April 17th? His brother is not a big-time golfer, but he plays and he's good. Are you free?
Well,
he goes, how come? Yeah, I'm free. He goes, well, we're playing the Zurich then. That's the best invitation I've ever seen.
Yeah, no kidding. I'd like to get a few of those when I was younger myself. But he had a hell of a week last week. You know, I mean, some impressive shots down the stretch. Obviously, going up against Jordan Spieth and winning, and then you know, wouldn't that be the phenomenal story of the year?
That was Sunday, right? Right there.
If his brother hits the winning shots and puts him in back-to-back wins, I don't know exactly what, sponsorship exemptions his brother might get out of this. If they play well, I think it counts. If they win,
see the love for his brother right there.
Oh, no
After
doubt.
Winning the tournament, the U.S. Open. I mean, you just couldn't wait to hug him.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to hug you every time I see you, bro. Go Cavs.
Go Cavs. Go Cavs.
How about the razor burn? I mean, I knew him in college because he's my contemporary. You're my age, but you went away. Tom's and I, were at LSU at the same time. So he used to get a lot.
Yeah, he's one of the best putters I've ever played with. You'd see him go through a green, and the green would have razor burn after he was putting on it.
On closing, I remember introducing Nick Saban after he won the national championship in Atlanta at the Atlanta Touchdown Club. Tom's flew in just to see this 5-minute tape. Well, not 5, probably 15-minute Saban speech. That's how much he loves LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that.
Yeah.
And hey, by the way, Kelly Gibson, you're doing great things. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Hey, and get out to the Zurich Classic. I'm telling you, it's a blast. Last year I went 3 of the 4 days. I don't think I can make 3 this year, but I'm going to try to get out there twice, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Hey, tomorrow, Wednesday, they got, what are they doing Wednesday? There's Pro-Am yesterday.
Pro-Am. They got Pro-Am, full field Pro-Am.
Full field Pro-Am.
With the big stars on Wednesday.
And that's just as fun or more fun. Actually, you have more access there. So get out to the Zurich Classic and support one of the great events New Orleans has to offer. And speaking of great things, we're going to talk to a man that is doing great things for the city of New Orleans. That's right, for our youth. And that's what we need. We need to bring the youth up. And we need to help them, all of us do, through sports, through music, through cooking, whatever you do, through sewing, make Mardi Gras costumes. We're going to talk about a guy that's doing it through sports, and I cannot wait. His name is Lowrey Cruz, and he's with the 18th Ward. And we're going to tell you all about that. It's a great organization helping others. Right back on Primetime Sports. Good to see you.
Sundays at 6:30 p.m.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. Hey, we love sports, we love entertainment, but we love helping others, and that's what my mission for the rest of my life is, for real. I came back to New Orleans. I want to make New Orleans do my small part to try to make it better, and because it's a great city. To me, it's the greatest city in the world. I've lived all over the country and been most parts of the world, and I still think New Orleans is the greatest, and we can continue to make it great. But there's guys out there with organizations that need help, and they're doing great things. And this one right here we have from the 18th Ward, and I can't wait to talk about this. Lowrey Cruz is the guy that started this about 4 years ago in 2019, and he's helping kids across the city of New Orleans, underprivileged kids that may have some money, but they're all getting together. They're coming together, integrating, having fun on different playgrounds, and we're going to learn more about it right now. Lowrey, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
First question is, how does a guy from Tupelo, Mississippi, which is the birthplace of Elvis Presley, of course, and I had a lot of friends from my summer camps when I was a kid going to camp every summer in North Mississippi. How did you get to New Orleans?
Sports got me here. I started playing sports when I was 5 years old, and I haven't really stopped. And so I'm trying to create opportunities that I grew up with.
Right.
I've got 2 kids, born and raised here in New Orleans. And in 2019, they started kindergarten. And they were going to a public school here in New Orleans, and they were the only white kids in the class. And then they started playing sports, and it was nothing but white kids.
Right, right.
And
Weird,
so
right?
I agree with you. Greatest city in the world. There's 17 wards here. If you go to each ward, there's a lot of greatness.
There is.
In each neighborhood.
There really is.
But there's not many opportunities for a kid who grows up in one ward to ever meet, become friends, and grow up with a kid from another ward. And so we're using sports to bring people together.
So that's what the 18th Ward is about. That's the one that puts everybody together.
Brings everybody together.
Well, explain how it works.
Starting at age 3, we have opportunities for our kids to get involved and learn how to play. All the way up through age 24, and that includes our jobs program. So what we do is we hire teenagers, high school and college students, to teach and lead the programs for our younger athletes.
Right.
So ages 3 to 12, we've got a lot of kids, over 4,000 this year, playing across the city, in schools, in our home base in Columbia Park, which is the old St. Bernard project. And so we are using sports to bring people together.
Nice.
When you come to a field, when you come to a gym of 18th Ward Sports, it looks like New Orleans. We've got families from 22 different zip codes, kids from 90 different schools, and we've got a lot of demand for us to grow. But we are sort of reaching capacity with the space that we have.
Right, that's the question. Do we have enough space, or can we create space to get these kids more places to play, I mean, and compete?
We have enough space, but it's gonna require some partnerships. It's gonna require some folks who've been part of the system, who've created a system here to sort of work together and come together, because you know, there's 80,000 kids under the age of 18, and there's not enough opportunities for our kids to have a positive place to go, have a place where they can have a great coach. I mean, all of our kids deserve a chance to play.
Yes.
They deserve a chance to make friends. They deserve a chance to have a good time and build confidence and build skill. And they deserve great coaches. And so we've got hundreds of coaches that we're training every single day to be leaders in our community. And so I get really optimistic thinking about the future of New Orleans when I see teenagers leading 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds in sports and at a very high level.
And that's a beautiful thing. You said something that struck me. They need a positive place to go. You know, I mean, people don't realize that the crime mostly happens because you don't have a positive place to go. You don't have an outlet. You don't have a place you can make a living or make money or even have a few extra dollars as a teenager to go to a movie or something. And I'm not condoning any of it, but the fact is if you're real with yourself, you're going to realize that, hey, there are reasons for this and we can fix them. We really can. Just a little help here and there to get kids off the street and do things. We always hear that term, kids off the street. Well, it's real. I mean, what are you going to do? I remember as a teenager, I mean, you know, we were drinking early in New Orleans. And I mean, whether that's good or bad, I don't think it's a positive thing. I mean, but, you know, we need things to do. Dickie Brennan is a good friend. He's a restaurant owner, and we have this conversation a lot, and he's putting his money where his mouth is. And what you're doing with sports, he's doing with cooking classes, big time. He's doing it over at Noka, they call it Nochi, and they take kids off the street and do that. And he wants to open up places where Mardi Gras, where you can sew costumes, get a trade, you know, maybe become a fashion designer. You know, there's so many things. Cooking, music, we all know about music, even grow that more. And sports is a unifier for everything. And tell me how that is magical in what you do with the sports field.
Yeah, I haven't met a kid yet who doesn't want to play.
Right.
And so when we talk about our organization, we are not just another sports organization. It's about building community. It's about building confidence in kids. And one of the things we talk about is inclusivity. So if you're a great athlete, there are a lot of places that want you to come play sports because it benefits their organization.
Yeah.
But what if you're not a great athlete? Or what if you are, but no one's ever taught you how to dribble a basketball?
Right.
Or what if you don't identify as a great athlete because no one sort of became that positive presence in your life and told you you can do this? And so what we do is we teach fundamentals, that builds confidence, that builds skill, and that's what keeps kids playing year after year. We've got a problem across the country. Kids are dropping out of sports, girls twice as much as boys. And so we have initiatives for girls-only sports to make sure that they have role models. I mean, less than a quarter of the coaches across the country identify as female, but over half of our coaches identify as female. So what we're doing is very intentional. We've got some systemic problems in the city.
Right.
We've got some systemic problems in youth sports. And we're designed to provide solutions to those.
Right.
And it requires partnerships. We work with schools, the Bayou District Foundation here in New Orleans, the Lowrey Foundation across the country, the 4Kids Foundation who's putting on the Zurich Classic. I mean, there's a lot of people who are rooting for our kids. We just need more of that because, you know, we're at capacity. We have wait lists for all of our programs, and we'd love to expand.
Wow.
We certainly have the
speaks,
talent pool.
That speaks volumes. Let me say this, because there are a lot of good people in New Orleans. We all hear the negative on both sides. You know, the rich people don't want to help out the poor. I think they really do. I just don't know that they believe every avenue. You know, they don't know where the money goes. I can tell you right now, I know this is all for a good cause. I mean, there's some things you donate some money, you're not sure where it's really going, but this organization, I'm telling people watching, because this is one that you can bank on. This is one that we're just trying to get new fields. We're trying to get new gyms. We're trying to get, you know, places where all these kids on this waiting list can come in. And that's a beautiful thing. You have them waiting. You just need some resources. And the first time I heard about this was a little over a month ago. Keith Miller is a good friend who played basketball at Newman back in the day. And we were watching the conference tournaments. I remember it was a Sunday selection day, right? And then I met Mike Walker, who is a tremendous young man who played at Newman himself in the late 90s. And he was a great player himself. But I could just tell the way he was talking about this group that this was genuine. And then I looked into it a little more, and he told me about you and what you do. And I'm like, gosh, I was sad that I didn't know about this early, but you've only been around 4 years. But my point is this: what's the best way that somebody watching this, and I know there's several out there that do want to help, whether it be financially or just give their time or whatever, what can they do?
I mean, I think the two biggest hurdles for us are space and money. We've got 4,000 kids. We can get to 10,000 in the next 2 years with more space and more money to pay our coaches. We're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay coaches. There's no shortage of coaches in this city,
right? And
there's no shortage of kids who want to play.
Well, let me stress this before you go on, because coaches are the young people too, right? Because they're the teenagers that are helping, and they're not getting rich off this. They're making $15 an hour, which is good. They need that to do things to stay off the streets. So it's not just for the little kids, it's for the ones coaching, because they're basically part of this as well.
They're a big part of it.
Right.
And we focus on team building, right? So our kids, when they start coaching with us in high school, Cody, who started with us 4 years ago, has started a photography business, and he's going to come to our field this Wednesday and Thursday and take team photos. We're investing in his business because we're invested in Cody. We know that Cody has a lot to offer our city, and so once coaches enter our program, they're not just getting paid $15 an hour to play sports with kids. It's a great job, don't get me wrong, but they're also part of this professional and community network that exists to support them. We want to see our kids succeed, and I don't have the perfect plan for the next 10 years, but I do know this: our 5-year-olds now in 10 years are going to be coaching in the same programs that they played. In 10 years, those 15-year-olds that are coaching with us are going to be leading in schools and in businesses across the city. I mean, the future leaders are in our classrooms right now, are on our sports fields right now. And so I have a lot of hope. I mean, Give NOLA Day is coming up on May 2nd. Early giving has already started.
Okay, talk about that, because that's a perfect opportunity to help. And I've been part of Give NOLA too. Tell people what that is and what they can do there.
It's a community-wide day of giving. It's a chance for you to say, I believe in what this nonprofit is doing to support our community, whether it's through housing or environmental issues or mental health, or in our case, sports, which we know addresses a lot of things. It's the reason that I stayed motivated in school. There's academic benefits, there's physical benefits, there's social and emotional benefits. And so we feel like sports is just a great way for us to give back to our city and continue to just invest in the greatness that exists here. But it's not going to continue without our generous supporters. So folks can give and donate through the Greater New Orleans Foundation every year in May. They support the local nonprofit community. And throughout the year, Greater New Orleans Foundation has been a big proponent of helping us grow to scale.
What's the website?
It's givenoladay.org/the18th ward. Our social media at the 18th ward.
And you have an 18th ward website as well. givenoladay.org.
givenoladay.org/the18th ward.
But you also have 18th ward is .com. I mean, your own website.
18thward.org.
.org. Okay. That way, look into it. That's what I'm trying. I just want to tell people, if you want to look through it and just check it out and see what's going on, I'm sure Lowry's number is probably on there. You can probably give him a call. I'm gonna tell you, this is a genuine guy. I can just tell right here. I talked to him on the phone a long time last night, and the guy that introduced me to him, Mike, super genuine. These are the real deal, I'm telling you. And you know what? We give gifts, and I don't know how you look in black, but I bet you look good. This is the softest shirt you've ever had if you haven't had it, and it's called Task Performance. Task Performance is a New Orleans company, and I used to wear Under Armour 15 years ago. I've never put anything on but Task. That's all Drew Brees, Sean Payton, that's all they wear too. You'll love it.
Thank you so much.
And take your wife, please. There's some, go to Shays de la Shays or which is on Maple, or you can go to de la Shays right there on St. Charles.
She's the real MVP. She's going to appreciate this.
Right on.
And I appreciate you. Thanks for the opportunity. What a pleasure.
You mentioned Cody. I want to say this because that struck me as well. We're going to bring Cody or some of your coaches so people can put faces to names and just see the stories and see the success. And I want to do that this summer if you don't mind.
I'd love to do that.
All right, there you go. Hey, just do what you can. That's all I'm saying. Listen, if you have a few extra dollars, help them out because it's going to help all of us in the long run. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Lowrey. Hey, moving forward, hey, you've heard me at the end of shows bring up this guy's name, Logan Graffia, because I thank him. I thank Will Hill, my producer. I thank Alex Chacon, because they do all the things that make me look good out here. Well, try to make me look good. But the fact is, sometimes, you want to help the guys in there. They want to be doing stuff in the future, and we're going to bring one of them out, Logan Graffia. He was on about 3 or 4 months ago. We had him on the show, and he did a great job. But you know what? He has a little draft special thing. He puts out this little thing. Mike Detillier's done with that. Logan's doing it now. So we're going to talk about the NFL draft. Next week I have Tyjae Spears, the superstar running back from Tulane. He's coming back to talk about his draft status coming up. It'll be like 2 days before the draft actually starts. But Logan's going to talk about what the Saints possibly need right here, coming up next. Don't go away on Primetime Sports. Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. And we know the draft is coming up. It's only 9 days away. I cannot wait. And we got one of our own. We had him on about 3 or 4 months ago. His name's Logan Graffia. Just got out of Southeastern 3 years ago. He's been working his way up in the television business. He's with us at WLAE, does all the things behind the scenes. He helps us out with so much, but he knows his sports, man. And he wants to be on air one day. And he did a great job back in December, so we brought him back. He's got Logan's draft manual. Logan Graffia, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you in the chair, my friend.
Hey, it just feels right. It just feels right.
It does feel right, doesn't it? We're going to get to the draft in a second, but I got to tell you, as a guy that loves football all year round, the New Orleans Breakers are in their second season. They opened up their first game in the USFL, correct? 22-15 win this past weekend against the Pittsburgh Maulers. Tell me about Coach John DeFilippo's team. How do you pronounce it?
John DeFilippo.
DeFilippo. That's the new
Great
head coach.
Italian name, but the game started off kind of rocky. It was a rocky start for both teams, but the defense was very stout for the Breakers, better than last year's. But the second half adjustments that he made as a first-time head coach was just fantastic. I mean, first and second half was just so different. Second half, we just looked like it just clicked. Like it just clicked.
Well, that's sometimes a new coach, man. I mean, you got to get through the kinks, right? And then when things come together, the red light comes on, and this looks like a team that could be formidable going through the season?
It definitely can. The one thing we got to get over is beating the Birmingham Stallions. Last year, they swept us 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Played them twice in the regular season. Then we made it to the playoffs, and we got beat pretty badly, and they wound up going to the championship. So
did they win?
They went to the championship, and they won it.
They got all their games at home. That's why.
Pretty much.
Moving forward, let's talk about the draft. I had Mike Detillier on a couple weeks ago, and we like to talk, so we didn't get too much into what the Saints actually want to do. So I'm bringing you on. We're going to only talk about that because we talked about the LSU guys in the draft, the Tulane guys. Now we're going to talk about Saints' needs and weaknesses. And, everybody's got a different opinion on what you think they need and what they have to have. What's your opinion, first of all, broadly? What do you think the Saints should do, and what will they do?
Well, the first thing you got to do, it all starts in the trenches.
Yes.
Everything starts in the trenches, offense, defense, but for the first round, they got to go defensive tackle. Yes, they signed Kalen Sanders and Nathan Shepard, but they need somebody else. Kalijah Kancey is my favorite defensive tackle in this draft.
Well,
from Pittsburgh.
Oh, my goodness.
He's literally got all the same measurables as Aaron Donald, and I mean, that's got to be great. They're both from the same school.
Right.
Ironically enough.
Right.
And then outside of defensive tackle, offensive line, and then you got Osiris Torrance from Florida, who is a ULL transfer.
So you're saying it's okay to draft either of these in the first round?
Either. I'm fine with either. If you go offensive line at pick 29, I'm happy. If you go defensive tackle at 29, I'm happy. You can go either way because of the moves that they made in free agency.
Right.
They can go either way, and no one would be upset.
You see, do you think they because I remember at one point when Onyemata left and all the guys left, they had like 0 guys signed at defensive tackle. Do you think, I mean, I'm with you on board. You signed 2 guys you want to play, but you got to have some depth and some young depth at that.
Most definitely, and like I said, Kalijah Kancey was one of them, and then an underrated prospect from Bowling Green, Carl Brooks. 4 out of the 5 years at Bowling Green, he was their sack leader.
What round would he be draftable in?
In my opinion, he would be a steal in the 5th or the 6th round.
Do you think he could be a player that could groom and come up?
I think he can. He's very underrated. Not a lot of people are talking about him, but I know he had a visit with the Saints on a top 30 visit. So they have interest.
That's interesting because I mentioned Onyemata. I remember when he was drafted out of Regina in Canada, and nobody really knew who he was.
No.
And he groomed, and then all of a sudden he became not just a good player, player, a very formidable player, and obviously got a big contract in the offseason. Unfortunately, not with the New Orleans Saints.
Nope.
But moving forward, those are guys you want in the first round. Now you have the 70th pick of the 70th pick of the draft, and that's in the second round. Who would you think, or is that the third round pick?
That's the third round.
What's the second pick?
That's be pick 40 or 41.
40, 41. You could get a solid player. You got 29, and you pick 11 or 12 spots later, or 13, 14 spots later. Who do you think they should grab there?
Well, you got to get a tight end. We was looking at Foster Moreau, and prayers up to him. Hopefully he heals up and gets clean fast.
Prayers to Foster,
healthy,
right. I know his family.
But everyone's talking about Michael Mayer, Darnell Washington, and Dalton Kincaid, but one player I like the most, this is my tight end one actually, Samuel Porter from Iowa.
Well, I did his games. He's a beast. He's a beast.
He's got the same identical measurables, height, weight, everything as George Kittle, and ironically enough, same identical school. He's a great run blocker, and he can catch it like there's no tomorrow. I mean, that would be a guy I would love to draft in the second round.
I mean, they put tight ends out at Iowa. I mean, Noah Fant. We got Hawkinson. We got, you just mentioned
George Kittle.
George Kittle. I mean, that's what they do. And I've done a lot of Iowa games. They take pride in their tight ends. They catch the ball, and obviously they're all corn-fed, so they block well too. If you didn't go tight end, what other possibilities with that 40th pick would you think? I mean, do you think we need a running back at any point? I know they picked up a big, strong guy, Jamal Williams, and I love that pickup. But Kamara's thing is so unsure, and we know how great he is, but would it be worth using a pick maybe in the second or third round on a guy like Tyjae Spears?
Well, second or third round, I would say you got to get the trenches right first.
Okay.
So third round, I would say maybe you look at a running back, maybe like a Tyjae Spears or DeWayne McBride. I really love DeWayne McBride from UAB. He led the second.
Goodness, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He was the second leading rusher in the nation this year. Wow. Out of a lot of, and that's even over like the Bama running backs, LSU running backs. So many running backs, second in the nation. And then, like I said, Tyjae Spears would be a pretty good pickup. I mean, he's rising up draft board, so, I mean, in the third round could be a steal.
You know, Saints love to pick wide receivers. They always seem to do it. They like to put points on the board. You got Derek Carr. Are you satisfied with the weapons? I mean, because if they're healthy, and that's such a big if. It's like a big if with the Pelicans. It's a big if with the Saints. When they're healthy, they're great. But Michael Thomas hasn't proved to be healthy. I personally think he could have a giant year with Chris Olave because they complement each other. But do you think there's a wide receiver that might be worth it?
I actually do a few of them. I'm just going to say a couple, actually two of them. Jonathan Mingo from Ole Miss.
Yes.
And you got Xavier Hutchinson from Iowa State.
Well, that guy's a stud, first of all. That guy's, what round is he projected in?
He's looking like to be the fourth round.
That's
both
a steal.
Of them, actually.
That's a steal. Mingo, listen, I've done a lot of Iowa State games. It's no secret. I do Big 12, Big 10, and Pac-12 games with Tim Brando every weekend. That guy Hutchinson, man, I mean, he's got first-round talent. I mean, if he puts it together, he's got the intangibles, and he's got the physical ability.
Oh, physical.
But Jonathan Mingo was part of a big group at Ole Miss, right? They had a lot of receivers, so you kind of get lost in the shuffle. I mean, a couple of them are in the NFL right now. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell was like the 11th pick of the draft or something like that, and he's with the Jets. So he's a guy that got lost in the shuffle because Ole Miss throws to so many people. I like that. Before we go, because I only got a minute left, anybody else that you think maybe a sleeper for the Saints?
Well, he could be a seventh or an undrafted free agent. Lindsey Scott Jr., quarterback from Incarnate Word.
Love him.
But he's been in what feels like to be 30 years in college. But
still.
I seen him play at Nichols when I was at Southeastern, when I was playing for the Bell. And he was just giving our defense fits, and I loved what he did at Incarnate Word this year was 60 touchdowns. I mean, come on now.
That's an NFL player. I'm not saying he's a quarterback. He should be in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
There's guys like him that are just players. You know, you can't put a position, get him on the field somehow, some way. He's a Louisiana native. He's kind of been around the ringer. Obviously, started at LSU and then moved around, but he's worth it. I watched him in the bowl. The guy's unbelievable.
He's unbelievable.
All right, here you go. Task performance for you, too. This is a guy I'm thanking people now. I thank Logan Graffia, but he's right here. And I got to thank Will Hill. Of course, Alex Chacon. Love him, too. Thank you. He makes me hear things. And also Jim Dotson and Ron Yeager and everybody at WLE. Guess what? Brian Kelly called. He wants to come in the next 2 weeks. How about that? We're going to have the gymnast. We got a big show. Tyjae Spears next week. Next week, stay tuned on Primetime Sports.